Blaze is, as I said, the best example of a massive encirclement in the Northwest Europe campaign. What we've also got with the Germans at this point in the war is a little bit of desperation going on. They've not necessarily got the equipment that they want, but they've got the equipment that they have. So, for example, the Panzer III, like we have here, certainly isn't going to be in the main line of any major regiments or battalions. But hey, if there's one knocking around in a school somewhere or something like that, you're going to take it. It is a tank. So we've got a decently sized recce unit coming on here. Little armoured car at the front, SDKFZ 222. Packs a punch. Main gun, 20mm. That is going to lay down some extremely effective fire should it be allowed to. Obviously we've got our Panzer III coming in behind that one. 5cm main gun there. Again, it's not going to do much against Allied even medium armour at this point in the war. But it's a gun on a mobile hull. And if you've got it, you are going to use it. It's not going to do well. And then behind that is our little Kettengrad. We all absolutely adore the thing. However, not necessarily the thing you should focus on with the Kettengrad at the moment. One of those soldiers on the back does appear to have a rather large anti-tank weapon. So, these guys are clearly in the process of falling back. The Allies are pushing through. This is, again, a common situation as they will decide. But they are going to be very conscious that not far behind them is likely going to be Allied armour. But as we know, Allied armour can go as quickly as it likes. But if it does not have infantry support, it is going to get a decent mauling from the Germans. So they're expecting, as they should be expecting anyway, a very strong combined arms operation coming through. Bit of camouflage going on with these vehicles. Both the armoured car and the half-track have got reasonably accurate, well, especially the half-track, got accurate camouflages to the Northwest Europe campaign. That's Citroën behind it. I think all in all, through about the 30-year lifespan of that hull being produced, that chassis being produced, it's like 3.5 million units, which is just an incredible number, really. But the Germans at the fall of France captured about 7,000 off the French army and immediately pressed into service. Plus, then, they continued building them throughout the war. That 37mm or 3.7cm anti-tank gun at the back there is known as the door knocker when they went into the Soviet Union in 1940. I wouldn't necessarily want to try and face Allied armour in 1940. There's not much to hold on to, but it is quite the bumpy ride. Camouflage, again, is important. Not necessarily in an arena like this, you're going to be fairly obvious, but remember, if you're setting up an ambush position in a realistic environment, you're going to be looking at terrain, using terrain for your advantage, woodblock, anything that's going to give light recce formation. Later on in the war, we've got almost the two extremes of reconnaissance. You've got a Jeep, which I'm sure you all know wants it. It's small, it's mobile, it's available. It will get you to the place that you want to go. Close air support, which would have been interesting. Instead, it did seem far more action in the Chaffee. And they've not found anything yet. They've gone for a bit of a run around. There isn't necessarily anything obvious. The Germans have clearly camouflaged themselves rather well. Behind that, we've got the ubiquitous Deuce and a half with many infantry in the back. While everybody would love a half-track because you've got at least some modicum of protection against small arms, that is simply not always the case. Germans had the problem, even the Americans and the Brits had the same problem. You have half-tracks, we like half-tracks. We found the German reconnaissance screen, or the German rear guard, I should say. I set up a bit of an ambush here. Infantry are dismounting. They're engaging. It does appear that that pack has hit the side. He's not damaged anything. That's the problem. It's not good enough against Allied armor. That Chaffee is swinging its sight around. He's seen where it's firing from. Can it do anything? Yes, it can. That does appear to have knocked out the anti-tank gun, which is giving the Germans potentially a little bit of food for thought about their current position. Infantry, they're going to need to move up in support of that armour, because if that armour gets isolated, bad things are going to happen to it. The infantry are pretty well pinned down at the moment, but that tank will give them a little bit of oomph. Infantry are moving. What they're going to be doing is they're going to be firing and moving. I will use modern parlance as a section. They didn't use it back then. Please don't get angry at me. But half of this unit will move forward, half will provide cover and fire, half will move forward. If they can keep together, if they can keep the Germans' heads down. That Chaffee does appear not to be providing much firing support. Infantry are potentially on their own. The Germans have put up extremely strong resistance here. Germans are firing with semi-automatic weapons, bolt-action weapons, anything that they've got. It does appear that the Allies are bringing in more reinforcements though. That was a big hit. That does appear the Chaffee is now knocked out. They have currently no armour support, which is less than ideal by all accounts. Not what we want at all. Germany 1945, it is all about keeping the advance moving, keeping the enemy on the back foot. We give them a chance to dig in, that is where it all goes horribly wrong. And they have run out of armour, no more. It comes. Bingo, it's not massively armoured, but it is something. It is small arms proof. That might help restore mobility. And behind it will definitely be helping. M5 Stuart. Very similar gun to that pack that we just knocked out earlier. However, they're not trying to take out tanks with it. This will be being used against infantry. It had a very effective canister shot if they've got that one loaded. Right, this overwhelming amount of firepower does seem to be making the Germans think about their choices up to this point. They're now going to have to conduct a fighting retreat from their position. It has just been overwhelmed by Allied superiority here. The Germans are falling back, hopefully not too close to me. I can't say I'm a fan of being this close to retreating soldiers. Especially when the Allies are very much aiming in my direction. Where there's potentially infantry in the open, that brain gun will come in clutch. Even there, taking a bit of a beating, falling back to the next defensive line, digging in very effectively. We're going to have to weed them out at every possible moment. They still have man-portable anti-tank weapons, which is a threat. We can't just go blundering in. Again, there has to be thought, there has to be consideration to what everybody's doing. If you look towards the back of the arena, the armoured car is now even moving back. At this point in the war, and I will point out, so are the British, are building impromptu battle groups in the field to conduct a mission or a set of missions. This does appear to be an extremely good example of one. They set up a little bit of a blocking force. That blocking force has been told, well, has been forced out of position, but they're not just going to sit there and take it. They are going to conduct a reasonably solid counter-attack. So even their recce vehicles are reasonably heavily armed. That 20mm on the armoured car is going to do, well, a world of hurt to the Dingo if it gets into that position. All the armour we've currently got deployed, well, that Panzer III actually might be able to deal with. And then the Panzer Grenadiers behind in their half-track. If they, then almost certainly will have a menagerie of anti-tank weapons capable of dealing with, well, anything really, apart from even the heaviest Allied armour. I fear I'm about to be drowned out by many things going off near me. They've got into firing positions here almost perfectly. Yeah, that was loud. Wow. Right, this is the German counter-offensive. There are three things in life that you can be guaranteed of happening: death, taxes, and German counterattacks. It will happen. They are pushing. However, we know at this point in the war, the Germans are going to counterattack. We should not be surprised by this. I will almost guarantee you that the Allied battle group commander will factor this German counterattack into his plans. We've formed somewhat of a defensive line here. We cannot let the Germans push back the way they came. We're going to have to hold them before we can do anything else. Right, the German, there is movement on the Allied side. The order's been given to move. They're trying to gain a little bit against the Germans here. Get a bit closer. Bring the fight to them rather than just waiting for it. Neither side wants to be on the back foot when it comes to an engagement. You want to be on the front foot. Dictate the course of battle. Even if, in the German situation right now, you are actually on the defensive. You are, fair enough, losing. But they don't know they're losing yet. They've not given up. Look towards the back of the arena. I think there are two more things entering the arena that may want them to give up. Got another Chaffee coming in, supported by Fury. That 76mm gun is by far the most powerful weapon we've got on our battlefield today. All German armour is going to be extremely susceptible to this. This is what you get with armoured warfare that nothing else can bring to the battlefield. You can cut them off. That Chaffee and that Sherman have just nipped round the back of the arena, isolated the German forces from their escape route, and to be honest, it is now an inevitability of what happens next. The German line of communication has been cut off. They cannot get out. Let's be honest, there's going to be no reinforcements coming their way. They're not going to give up. They're not going to surrender. They're going to try and fight their way out of this encirclement. But it is looking extremely unlikely that that's possible. That Chaffee's now back up and running the first one. The Stuart is in support of that. Plus the small armoured group that we've got at the rear. This is a beautiful example of a tactical encirclement. There is really no hope now for the Germans. You might be wondering why they moved from their position. Well, that's because realistically, those German vehicles are still within range of their main armament, and they've got vehicles coming in behind them. The older Chaffee and the Stuart are going to take up that position. Fury's coming round for a lovely photo pic as well. To make sure there is no escape, they try and get out a different way from the encirclement. Just going to close them off. The infantry then moving up. They have to now squeeze the pocket, and that has to be done by boots on the ground realistically. Tanks, armed vehicles, they're going to provide fire support as much as they can give, but they can't and won't want to get that close. You're going to have the infantry needing to get in close and personal with German infantry. There is only so much tanks can do. Taking a trench, taking a fortified position, sometimes means bayonets fixed, grenades being lobbed. But the overwhelming firepower now available to the Allied forces, it just means the Germans aren't going to be able to fight their way out of this one. I'd be very surprised if they fought their way out of this one, put it that way. British tactical infantry formations are basically made around the Bren gun, which gives you an absolute massive amount of firepower. Oh, that's the Panzer III gone. We're now dropping in air support, artillery, doesn't matter, it's all being blown up. I'm about to disappear into a cloud of smoke. And that's the other advantage the Allied forces have at this point in the war. The Luftwaffe does not exist by any measurable statistic. Second tactical air force is absolutely massive, and that will just roll in. There are many accounts where the tactical air will come in, soften up the enemy, allowing armoured formations to come through and mop up any remaining resistance. The artillery attached to this group, which there inevitably will be because we really liked artillery at this point in the war, they're going to have to lift though at this point. They're too close. The infantry are going to have to rely on their own firepower for this battle, which, well, they've made a very good account of themselves so far, so I don't really have any worries about it. But the Germans are falling back further and further. They are running out of defensive lines to actually go to. Allied soldiers, oh, that's a lot of firepower coming from somewhere. If you can listen very carefully as me talking, you will hear the info away from the museum to the back corner of the event and have a look at the tank park, because that is one heck of a collection of vehicles we've got there this week. Don't know if you guys at the back of the arena view can see this, but the driver of the Jeep is looking absolutely fabulous, smoking his pipe as he goes around. Do it in style. That being said, thank you for listening to that one. Hope you enjoyed our battle reenactment, and I will hand you back to Steve Pudding.
Thank you very much. Give James a massive round of applause. He won't want me to tell you this, but it's the first time he's done that, and I found he's done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. He did a fantastic job. Thank you so much.